Hey, everybody, welcome to Till's Roadhouse. I'm so excited about this show. My buddy Joe Nichols is in the house. Pig Suey, baby.
Woo Pig Suey.
Golly. Oh, man, it's been so rough, man. I love Coach Pittman. Sad times that we're in. It's been tough
Good
being
dude.
a Razorback fan for a while, but I've had a chance to visit with Pittman. I know he's going to land on his feet, man.
Yeah.
It's been rough.
It has been rough. I feel like that's the exact intro for every Woo Pig Suey I've heard in the last 15 years. It's like, Woo Pig Suey. Oh, man.
It's rough.
It's just like, ever since the motorcycle crash, it's just been like, all right.
Well, Petrino's getting another shot
He's
at
got
it,
another
man.
shot, man. I was told emphatically maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, man, maybe one day Petrino makes his way back to Arkansas. And I remember people, dog cussing me like,
Never
there's
happened.
no way that'll ever happen. Number one, it's illegal, and it'll never happen. The state of Arkansas will never let him back, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, where are you at now?
Yeah, here
He's
we
the
are.
head football coach now again.
Yeah.
Offensive coordinator kind of blew my mind, but now he's the head football coach.
Yeah, and
Crazy.
it's gonna be funny. He came in and he did a little minor cleaning of the house real quick. So
Loved it.
if they can start getting a few
Yeah.
wins in the W column, man, we'll see how that tide can turn pretty quick.
And here we are talking about football. I don't know anything what a coach would know or anything like that, but I can tell you this: as a fan of Arkansas, if I were a fan of Tennessee or anybody on the schedule, I would hate playing this team because you don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
They've been kind of dog water in a couple of places, like defense, but now there's a new guy in charge. You got the same players that are talented players; they're just in the wrong place, constantly in the wrong place, taking bad angles. But now all of a sudden, you got a wild card, which is a motivated team. Guys are acting like this is a professional gig now, which is needed desperately. Guys needed to play like professionals because they damn sure don't play like they have any heart. So that's all kind of changed. I wouldn't want to play them.
Well, they got a chip on their shoulder now. They got something to prove. So
They might still lose them all, but I wouldn't want to play them.
Yeah, but at least it's going to be a little bit more interesting to
Yeah,
watch. Let's
I think
hope
so,
it can
too.
get lined out a little bit. Yeah,
Just watching the players' comments, like coming in and out of practice, and by the way, I'm a big Sam Pittman fan too. I love Sam Pittman as a human being.
Absolutely.
Nobody better. Loves country music, loves the Hogs. That's,
yeah.
People don't understand about that guy, man, is he wants the Razorbacks to do well. He's not just a coach cashing a check.
I wonder what the difference is that makes such a difference in dynamic about getting kids to buy into your philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Because just having passion about the sport sometimes doesn't translate into those players. And sometimes it's just that one little thing that flips the switch that brings that team together and changes the whole dynamic. It's amazing.
I thought about that a lot. And my brother-in-law was an athletic director and a high school football coach for like 30 years in Dallas, and has a lot of great wisdom on the NIL situation, high school players, preparing them for D1 ball, which he did a lot of.
Yeah.
But to me, once they broke that barrier of NIL, paying the players, they became professionals. And you got to be a professional if you're going to make money. You can't just be talented. You got to be a professional. And so the first coach that figures out how to make those men, because they're men now, how to make those men act like professionals every day. Nick Saban was good about this. Make them act like professionals, like the NFL would. Like you show up for work on time, you deliver, or you're out.
Yep.
That's the way it works. And the coaches that figure that out, take feelings out of it and emotions and all the highs and lows of being 19 years old, I think those guys are figured out. Lane Kiffin, I think, looks like he's got some of that figured out.
I think so, and I think Lane's a great coach. I just think that the NIL is kind of like the Wild West. There needs to be some parameters put on this a little bit. The transfer portal needs to be tightened down. You shouldn't be able to enter it unlimitedly.
Yeah.
There needs to be some things that kind of tighten the screws in the whole thing a little bit.
I've heard crazy stories with the NIL stuff, man. These agents that aren't really officially agents. They're more like friends or friends of agents or relatives.
Yeah.
The uncle or the cousin or the character that says, hey, man, you're making $1 million here, but I think I can get you 1.5 over here. If you just dip into the portal and do it when it hurts that team most, this team will appreciate you and get you on the back end with $1.5 million. They get in the portal, and the guy's like, wow, I thought I could get you $1.5 million. Actually, you're going to get about $400,000.
But what's the quarterback from Tennessee that what was his name?
The one that left?
Yeah, the one that left.
Nico.
Nico.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
See, that it was kind of the same deal. That
Yamalama
didn't
Leo.
turn out quite the way he thought it was going to
No.
either. You know.
No.
You know, and Tennessee seems to be doing pretty well.
They're doing all right.
I tell you, who I love watching right now is Vandy. I know they got beat by Alabama last week, but I love watching Vandy. That quarterback, he's the real freaking deal, man.
I secretly love Vanderbilt all the time. When I first moved to Nashville in 1997, there were two teams that played in Vanderbilt Stadium. There was the Titans played there for a year
In '99,
and they wouldn't sell beer.
Oh, that's right.
I think I remember this right. Yeah. They wouldn't sell beer because it was at Vanderbilt, and so tickets were nothing. So we would go out to the parking lot, like slam like 6 beers, and go buy another ticket. And get right back in. It's kind of like it's $20. But we also caught a lot of Vanderbilt games, you know, because there's nothing else to do on a Saturday, I guess, in Nashville. But you know, like an Arkansas fan, you know, you're like, gosh, I just hope one day you guys put together a great team, because I've seen y'all take a lot of ass whoopings, and it really does hurt my feelings.
It does,
you know. But
it's good to see them playing with a chip on their shoulder, and they're a really good football team.
They are good,
They
yeah,
really
well
are
coached,
good.
and they're like 30 years old too, aren't they? They're like a super 9th year senior team or something like that.
A 6-year red shirt.
The smart guys have figured it out somehow.
You know, it's really, I don't know if you've heard this, but you know, the Titans are building a new stadium right now, and I've heard that they're not going to allow tailgating at this new parking lot, that they're shutting it down, that they're focusing more on the corporate block tickets, and they're not going to be allowing tailgate. Man, in the South, man, what's that going to do? That's awful. If that's the truth, man, I can't imagine a football team in the South that doesn't allow tailgating.
I know. What are we doing, guys? I don't
The
think
whole
that's a
world's
sporting
upside
event.
down, man.
I don't think that's a sporting event.
No.
I think that's just a corporate Christmas party every weekend.
Probably so.
No getting crazy.
Yeah.
Like, just go to the wine drinking game and a football contest breaks out. I don't know.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound right to me. I'm with you.
How's your year been, man? What's going on music-wise?
It's been great. Music-wise, it's been real good. You know, I put out an album last year called Honky Tonks and Country Songs. It did fine. You know, it's kind of a throwback, like 90s country, you know, the stuff that, you know, I grew up playing.
Yeah.
It's kind of throwback to that. And it feels like there's more of a place for that these days than there was ever before. And so it's been a good year in a lot of ways. But, man, radio's tough. We had a single out there called Better Than You. It's a really good song. It's a duet with this girl named Annie Bosco. Phenomenal singer. Looks like a supermodel. You know, it's a fantastic song and everything. But just never could get it to stick at radio. It's one of those.
What was the holdup on it? I know that's a hard thing to answer. It really is.
You know that if there's you got to meet a criteria of about 10 things, and even if all those 10 boxes are checked with radio, they still might make one up along the way and go, I won't play it because
they'll still get you to come play all those free shows for them, though, won't they?
They sure will.
Yeah.
They'll sure. You know, we'll add the song to our playlist. We'll play it like 5 times over the next 4 months. And get you to play that free show, make some money off the tickets of that. We'll drop the song the next week.
Yeah.
That's kind of like
it's frustrating, isn't it?
I hate to put them, throw them too far under the bus. They got a product or a business model they're trying to,
Well, and you think about it too. I mean, the competition's so tough. The playlist is small. Well, there's 18 current songs that they're playing, and you got all these freaking labels, and every label's got 4 or 5 acts, and they all got their marquee act. I mean, there's just not a lot of space, man. It's very competitive. I don't even work radio anymore. I quit.
Man, I think that's pretty much true. I mean, going way back, that's pretty much true. There's hundreds of songs that come out every week, every day. But I remember this, in the first time I put out a record in March of 2002, a real major label release, and there were like 50 new songs that week. And they were like, all right, these are probably the 12 that are going to do something, and these other 38 are independent, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, 50 songs a week, and there's going to be 50 songs next week. And then, like, how the hell do we do this, guys, if you can only play 20 of them? But anyway, I get that there's a lot of music out there, but I had a song called Good Day for Living last year before last. It was a top 15 song, but man, I still had radio stations that are like, I don't want to play that. Like, this is freaking top 15.
Yes, it's weird too, and I think a lot of it too is once you've once you kind of get out of the whole rotation for a little bit, it's awful hard to get back in it, man. Because there's a whole lot of young acts. It's like they look at you as
That's right.
It's
when you get in that
weird.
legends category, I've heard that a couple times. Like, hey, stop it. Don't call me legend. Don't even do that. No, call me kid.
Yeah.
No, man, I remember doing a show with Randy Travis, who is also one of my all-time favorites. And this had to be like 2004 or 5. It was right after 3 Wooden Crosses. And I remember he talked to me before he went on stage, like, man, it's such a great show to be a part of. Thank you for having me on these. And he said, he started talking about radio, like, hey, what's the secret at radio? What are you doing? I'm like, man, honestly, I don't know what they're doing. It's working. It's doing well. And he goes, well, enjoy it. There will be a time when you'll wake up one day and they'll just tell you they're not going to play anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? He goes, nah, it's just one day I woke up and they said, you're not viable for radio anymore. So you've had all the hits you're going to have. I'm
But
like,
you know what I noticed?
Randy Travis?
After you kind of decompress, after you've been off radio for a while, you kind of go through a depression period. It's like, man, what's the next phase of my career going to look like? But country music fans are so freaking loyal, man. Once you establish that fan base, that they will stay with you for the rest of your life, man. That's the great thing about this fan base, man. You got a body of work, and you can work the rest of your life, and those fans keep coming. Get on a big tour every other year, hit the big festivals and stuff. It keeps your brand value up, man. But they're so loyal, man. I love our fans.
I love. There's a lot of people that have tried to ruin that loyalty in country music, though, because that loyalty is an X factor for a lot of powerful people like record labels. So you and I don't do any good for Universal. Well, I kind of do. I kind of do a lot of good for Universal, but not because I want to. But they make money on our catalogs and stuff like that. But they really don't like that fans are loyal to guys that they don't have control over. It's really kind of taken away some of their pie a little bit. So I think they've kind of really leaned into the model of get them in, flush them out, get them in, flush them out. You create this environment of you're the one in control, not the fan. And I think that's what labels have done. They've become the gatekeepers where the fans used to be the gatekeepers. Like, all right, this guy will work, this girl will work, that guy won't, this band will. The fans would dictate that. And now it's flipped on its head. Labels are kind of, this is going to work because we're going to spend $10 million to make it work. We're going to tell you it's good because you're going to have to trust me. And that's why we get where we're at. We don't have a soul because we don't have a soul, guys. We're not led by the goodness or the quality. We're led by something else and somebody else.
It's frustrating. It's got its frustration, but I try to stay on the positive side, man. I'm very, very thankful and appreciate, man, the longevity that we've all been able to have. I mean, it's been a pretty damn good run, man.
Pretty damn good, yeah.
So when you said something earlier about cutting the last record you put out had a 90s feel to it. What is a 90s feel to you? When you're looking for songs, what does that look like to you? Because it's different. It's a little bit different for each one of us.
It is. So I think in the 90s, for me, the drums became new in country music. Your record, your first record, your second record, those were all new sounds at that time compared to the 80s records with the flat drums, that were...
Or the big chorusy drum, the big...
Yeah, and the guitars had a little bit of that same jazz, with Dan Huff coming over from rock music and everything. All of a sudden, these guitars had 3 guitar parts on something. They just had 1 part. So 90s country had clever guitar, lots of steel and lots of fiddle steel, and some good, new, fresh-sounding drums. Other than that, had good country singers that could have been in any genre or any era, 60s, 70s, 80s. And so 90s, it was the last time I can think of that had that good blend of all of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
At least till about 97, 98.
Yeah, right until I come along.
And then it started changing. It's good that you noticed that because, James Stroud, when James Stroud took me on, James Stroud, he did Clint Black's record. Clint Black with Killing Time came out in 99, so you'll hear them similar sounds. John Anderson's comeback album.
Yeah.
Seminole Wind, all that stuff. That was James Stroud. So James had played drums. I mean, he played with the Snakes. He had done a lot of stuff in muscle shows, and he had sampled snare sounds and stuff all around the place. He had a whole bank of all these snare sounds, and he used a lot of that stuff. He did some of that early Tim McGraw stuff. He did Clay Walker. He was doing me. So there were several of us, and you can really tell a difference in those drum sounds.
That makes a ton of sense.
It really did. And then you had guys like Don Cook, and I go back. I'm the next project that I'm looking at doing. I'm looking at early Brooks and Dunn stuff, because what Don Cook did was a little bit rawer. It had a little bit tighter crack. There wasn't a lot of overdubs on the record. It was more like a 6-7 piece band.
Yeah.
They weren't layering guitars. James did a lot of layered guitars, doubling of acoustics and those things. So there were several different approaches. That's why it's interesting to see. You know, Mark Chestnut had his own sound. Mark Wright had his own way he did things, but it all fit in its own place, didn't it?
Mark Wright, that's funny. That's a blast from the past. Fellow Hog fan.
Yeah,
Mark Wright, he's funny. Man, I love listening to some of those '90s records. There was just such an explosion of new creativity in country music, and I think it's still.
What about lyrically?
What's that?
Did you notice anything lyrically that was different with the '90s stuff than?
Lyrically,
or than we have even today.
You know, it seemed like lyrically we were having more fun in the '90s. You know, we were having a little more fun in the '80s. The '80s kind of sounded like, to me, a little more depressing version of the '70s. So we started having fun again in the '90s. Started rocking up, started dancing a lot more. A lot of clubs, you know, a lot of line dancing and stuff like that. It was huge in that day. Of course, that's when I started playing. The gig was 5 or 6 nights a week, and you would do that circuit: Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma, go up to Colorado, and you know, all these clubs along the way. You get 5 nights here, 5 nights here.
What was the name of the band you were with?
Joe Nichols and Rodeo.
No
that was the name of my
yeah.
first band.
No kidding.
It was so '90s. It was. I look at some of the pictures I took back then. I'm like, golly, if I could make up an imaginary '90s singer, it would look just like the pictures I made. Like white jeans, some black boots, a little peach fuzz, black cowboy hat, maybe a vest, a little bolo tie like I'm wearing today.
God, those are fun times, man.
Yeah.
So, and were you just like, what were you in a van? What were y'all doing back then?
No, I had an old Silver Eagle bus. We had a blue and silver Eagle. It was kind of like a pirate ship. Things hanging off the off the ceiling, and you know, bus driver falling asleep. Yeah,
fun times.
That's fun,
man.
brother. Oh my God, that's
Praying if you were going to make it from town to town.
dude. Yeah, we actually had one of those driver fell asleep bus crashes, but we happened to be in South Dakota at the time, and we just floated off the road, off into a field instead of into a tree or off a cliff. So yeah, that guy got fired.
That's scary, man.
You're done.
That is so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, you lay down back there, and every time you hit the freaking run street, it's like, you wake up gasping for freaking air in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Sometimes, man, I'm telling you that it's like if you're in a plane that's lost power and you're free floating to the ground, all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, it's about to crash. That's what that felt like on that bus, like jumping over this curb and going off in this field. It's like everything floated for a minute. I'm like, oh, here we go. We're gonna start rolling. Everybody's dead. So now when we kind of get that floating feeling, I'm like, what's going on? All right, hey, everybody awake? Somebody get up there. Yeah, that's not a good feeling at all.
You know, the night that Hardy had that bus wreck, we had played Bristol with him, and it was me and Hardy and Morgan Wallen, and we were like one exit behind him when he went off. I guess his bus driver, didn't he have a heart attack or something that night and flipped the bus over on its side?
Brain something, maybe
Something
aneurysm or
happened,
something
yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Hardy had a hard time getting back on the bus after that, man. It kind of freaked him out pretty bad, man.
Ooh, I don't imagine.
Yeah. You know, there's always been this charm that I've loved about the bus. When I closed my eyes when I was a kid, you know, I didn't really see myself in neon lights. I wanted to be on the bus. I don't know what it was about the bus. There was something magical about living on the tour bus, man. The camaraderie. And back in the early days, before the satellites and the TVs and all that stuff, all we did was listen to music.
Yeah.
We sat around and played guitars and we listened to music. I mean, was it like that for y'all back then too? Just wanting it so freaking bad, man. I couldn't get enough of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, dudes hanging out in their tidy whities, you know, just jamming. Yeah, learning how to play. Yeah, that's kind of the way I remember it. We had one TV up there with a VCR. For y'all that don't know, that was an actual cassette tape with.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had one of those up there that we'd watch the same like 6 or 8 movies, like The Jerk and Tommy Boy. I don't know how much mileage we got out of those same like 7 or 8 Blues Brothers. That was huge. Kind of had in my brain for about 5 or 6 years. I would only use Blues Brothers quotes to speak to other human beings, just in conversation. Like, it's dark. Got a half pack of cigarettes, full tank of gas. wearing sunglasses.
I think there was something special about that time period too. We paid our dues,
Yeah.
and we did a lot of shows, and
Yeah.
we grounded out, and there was a camaraderie. I've had a lot of TikTok kids on here. Some of them are just getting started, getting picked up by labels and stuff. It's different when you're singing songs in your bedroom. I mean, I've seen kids that come out and get record dealers, and all of a sudden they're on stage in front of 10,000 people, and they've never put a show together before. Ooh. And that's a huge adjustment, man. That's got to be difficult for these kids.
You got to be booed at it, I think. Really, you got to feel like that dude just threw a beer bottle at me, not a beer can like these posters today, but a beer bottle, which is breakable, which will really hurt. You got to have a beer bottle thrown at you. You got to be booed, cussed out, get in a fight. All those things really to kind of know how a show can go wrong, so you can prepare for it going right. You know?
How did you mentally put a show together back then? Did you work set lists like your four set nights, your 45 minutes on, 15 minutes off?
Yeah.
Did you certain things you saved to the fourth set? I mean, how did you structure your shit back then?
Yeah, so our second to last set and our last set were the kind of the money sets. That's where we played all the tempo
Sweet Home
stuff.
Alabama.
Yeah, we did Sweet Home Alabama. If I was going to do Farewell Party, it'd have to be the first song or the last song when everybody's still coming into the club or everybody's drunk or lights are coming on. So, yeah, a lot of that slow Merle stuff. I really got yelled at many times for playing stuff that nobody could dance to, line dance to.
Yeah.
Like, nobody can dance to Silver Wings on a line dance, so stop playing that shit. So, and again, hey, for the TikTokers, man, until you get yelled at by some club owner in freaking Bum City, Louisiana, like you're less than human. Like, you haven't lived, man. You need to take one of those ass chewings one time where you can only understand like every other word. I think he called me an asshole, but I'm not sure what that word was. Get some of those and get those club owners that don't pay you.
Or that your bar tabs more than your check.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I've done that before.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many times I've done that before. Like, oh my God, did I drink that much? Yeah. Or at least you bought that much. Yeah, you might have bought it for other people, but yeah, I've done that.
Yes, it's just different times these days, man. Yeah. I don't know. I guess there are young people that are kind of getting groomed by going out and working shows, but Lower Broad's different. I mean, when I came to Nashville, none of the stuff that's going on here is completely different than it was back in the day, man.
Yeah, it's weird, and to me, country music, you can do it at a campfire. You can do it at in a field where we used to get together with trucks in a field, not way before it became a cliche in songs. We literally did have nothing to do, so we would go in a field. Everybody pulled together whatever booze they had, and we could bring guitars out and just get hammered in a field and play music and play good music. I just don't see some of these folks that haven't had that experience being able to pull that off. You know what I mean? Like, can you go by a campfire and do what you're doing now and pull off something magical? Because I have a feeling that if you don't have a track or a click track, some kind of production going on, or the ability to do this, this right here at campfires is not a good move. Campfires are like, all right, you got to go. Like, so I don't know. To me, country music has always been kind of special that way, where you can play it with two people in a room and it be believable and good. And, some of that stuff these days, I don't know if you pull that off with a couple of people in a room, because the other person might go, are you performing for me? Because this is terrible.
I don't know if you've had a hard time with it too. We're honky tonkers. I mean, that's what we cut our teeth on. Your music fits. I mean, that's what we do. That's the stuff that influenced us. And I wonder, I've had a hard time when doing big arenas and stadiums and stuff. I only have a couple songs that lend themselves in that direction. Have you found it a little bit difficult to adjust to? A lot of these kids are when they go in, they cut stadium songs. They're trying to cut these big anthems. And all of my music doesn't always translate to that place.
No. And I have brought arena shows to a screeching halt playing some of my stuff. Like, we were having a good time until he played that song. But I don't know, something in me, man. I agree with you. I'm a honky tonker, just like you. But I've seen you in arena playing honky tonk music, and I loved every minute of it. So it's, I don't know. I probably told you that before. Like one of my favorite concert experience. You played not Bud Walton, Barnhill in Fayetteville, and it was probably maybe a month or two after I saw George Strait in there, and I sat with George Strait. I was up at the top, and I was like, I think that's him on the front of the stage holding the guitar, maybe. And of course, for your show, man, my mom or somebody won tickets that was on the floor, and I was like, this is the best show ever. He's right there. This is awesome. I swore you looked at me once. And I was like, all right, I think you looked right at me when we were singing that. Like, right there, Sticks and Stones, right? He was right there. But yeah, man, I'm with you. These songs don't really feel like they have a connection to Middle America to me. I don't know. Everybody can kind of have their taste on what country music is to them. I guess that's really good. But I've always understood country music to be about the suffering of normal people, the suffering, heartbreak, heartache, loneliness, misery, and sometimes a good time, sometimes hell-raising, sometimes church, sometimes feeling good or bad about church. But all these things kind of are the human condition of a normal person, and that's what country music taps into magically. Like, that is what we were trained to do. And that kind of the making music to play in a stadium feels like a different kind of calling to me. It doesn't feel like country music. It's leapt off into, I think more like 80s rock, where it became glam rock. It's kind of leapt off into that world to me. It's not even attached to campfires or truck drivers or really the middle of anything. It's just kind of.
Did the labels ever try to push you to do more positive things? And I'll give you for an instance, John Michael and I came up on Atlantic at the same time, and they kept trying to push the I swears and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I hated it. I never could sink my teeth into it. God bless him. He had some massive, big records with it. But that wasn't where my heart was. Did they try to push you in that direction too?
I definitely feel like they tried to make me less serious many times. Matter of fact, after my first album, which did phenomenal, I was making the second album, and I was told at one time, like, listen, there's a lot of God on this record. And I was like, and? Like, what's your criticism here? Like, well, it's just heavy, and it's a lot of God. Can you maybe lighten it up a little bit? We need some more Brokenheartsville and more of this. And I'm like, my father had just passed away. It's like heartbroken. He was like my best music friend. And so it was just one of those albums. You've made those. I'm sure you've kind of had this place in your life where it's depressing, but it's artistic. And you're like, I'm just going to go in and play something and make something in the studio that might be a pile of shit, but it might be really magical too. But it sure as fire ain't going to be fake. And they might be able to market it. Maybe they won't be able to. Thank goodness they were able to get something out of that second record. But it's one of my favorite albums I've done. And it's very spiritual, very heavy. Not a lot of playfulness that they were trying to get me. So to answer your question in a long way, yeah, I think I've been pushed and pulled in many directions creatively, but I think I'm a little ignorant in a lot of ways, where I've bucked at the wrong things, and I've probably given in at the wrong things. I don't know, man.
But I really respect, and I can tell the difference between the artists. You go back, and my favorite albums and things from the 90s, you look at the Chestnut stuff and that first Clint Black record and the early Brooks and Dunn stuff. You can tell the guys that have lived that music that wrote a lot of those songs. Even if I didn't write them, the things that I picked had to fit there for a reason.
Yeah.
And I respect the artists that have done that. And I don't know how much of that I feel on a lot of the current stuff that's out there. And that doesn't mean it's not good and it's not connecting, because I think country music as a format is bigger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, like you said earlier, it's lost a little bit of that soul to me.
Yeah, it's weird. I think country music is as big as it's ever been because it encompasses so many different directions.
Yeah.
Maybe a fraction of which is what I would consider country, but I understand my interpretation doesn't have to be correct.
The first, what was the first big tour you were on? The first one, I got to tour with George Jones, right out of the box. I did about 2 years with Jones, man. That was a life-changing experience for me, man.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
First tour I did was with Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah, for about a year and a half, maybe, like all of the back half of 2002 and all of 2003. And so great. So great for so many things. I mean, with those tours, excuse me, not always do you get a good pair, not always do the music, acts go together. I toured, in contrast, I toured with Lady A one time, and I loved them. I love Charles, great good, and love Hillary.
Cool
They're all good people, but musically, I could see the difference in my set and their set. I'm like, this is one of those things where I probably should have said no.
Yeah, but sometimes, from a management and a label position, sometimes I think being in a position like that where you're drawing this crowd and they're drawing that crowd, sometimes it can work, and you're both crossing and you're making new fans out of it. That's the intention.
3. Yeah, I that's probably the way it was pitched to me, and the reason I said yes. But to go back to Alan Jackson, that was a magical tour for me, because here I am with one of who I consider one of the greatest of all time country songwriters, and a feeler of songs, a deliverer of songs, like a Conway Twitty that wrote all his songs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so just had lots of many things that Alan Jackson was special at, and here I was, sharing a stage with one of the icons, and that was great. Got to hang out with his people. I would ask them questions all day long. Alan's not a talker. I don't know if y'all know that.
Yeah.
You probably know that.
I've never been around him very much. What little I have, he's a man of very few words.
Right. That's everybody's experience. Nobody's around him all the time. Not even his people next to him. I think. I don't know. The whole time I toured with him, we talked maybe 4 or 5 times. Done a year and a half, 5 or 6 times. And everyone was like, well, how's it going? And then we'd sit there 20 minutes like this on the bus, just
okay.
How about that game the other day? I didn't watch it. Okay.
So I love hearing different people's approaches to things. And we were talking before we turned the cameras and everything on about getting in Alan's orbit there and at the center mic, and how loud his wedges were.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Everybody's different, man. But man, I've been around guys that are just on stun like that. It's painful.
Crazy. Yeah. I was really shocked at how loud his wedges were. His band, the Strayhorns. Funny story, but his band said, man, you got to come up and sound check with us. They knew that I did like Makeup and Faded Blue Jeans and A11. That was kind of my set, was A11 and Brokenheartsville and The Impossible. And just some other old honky-tonk stuff, Call Me By My Name or Family Tradition or something. And they're like, man, do you know this song, Merle stuff? I'm like, yeah, and all those. And they're like, just get up and let's do like a 2-hour sound check with Strayhorns and you, and just you can have Alan spot. I'm like, this would be time of my life. And I'm telling you, the first noise I made in the microphone, I felt like that scene in Back to the Future where the opening scene where he hit that guitar chord and it blew him off into the wall, I feel like that's where he had those speakers. Just every noise was, oh my God. It was super loud. So I don't know if it got that way or what. I don't know. Maybe they were playing a prank on me. It could have been that too. Those guys are great at that stuff.
Man,
see how long you can take it. See how long Nichols can stand up there and take this. Oh my God, he's still standing there.
I've got a feeling that was probably the way he listened to things. That's just the way he liked it, man. Yeah, everybody's got their own thing. And nowadays with our in-ear monitors, man, my volume's so far down from what it used to be, man. I used to like it. I remember when I was headlining back in the 90s at the peak, man, I was flying side fields. I had 4 like double 12s down there around me, man. It was so freaking loud. I mean, you walk by some of those speakers and make you nauseous. It was so loud. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, man. The in-ears that changed everything. That same for me, man. When I went in-ears, I couldn't stand it.
Took me a long time to adjust to it.
Oh my gosh, because you want to feel all that boom, boom. God, this feels great. And then you go to in-ears, it's like everything's contained in a little box. And all of a sudden you start singing correctly.
Start hitting pitch more precise.
Yeah, you start singing in time. I don't know that. Yeah, that's not honky-tonking.
Yeah, that's not loud enough, man. There's got to be beer dripping off the back of the freaking amplifier. What was your childhood like, man? Growing up in Arkansas, man. Did you have a musical family?
I did, yeah. So I was born in Rogers, Arkansas. We actually lived in Bentonville or Bella Vista at the time, and my dad was a musician and a boxer when I was a little kid.
Really?
Yeah. So that was his thing. He taught us music, taught us Merle Haggard, Ray Price, Leonard Skinner, Allman Brothers. Taught us. Yeah, I'm telling you, it was like hands here. This is what happens when you hit this part of the face. Tap it. My wife hates when I talk about this stuff, and thank God I don't have boys because we talk about this stuff constantly. But yeah, it was that. Yeah, it was constantly, working on boxing stuff. He retired. He said he woke up in his recliner one day, and the last thing he remembered was getting hit in a ring, like in a fight earlier that evening. And he said, and I just was like, where have I been? It was like 3 hours later. So he's like, all right, I quit. It like blacked him out for a long time. That was when I was a little kid. But yeah, he was a musician, bass player, singer, had a great voice. And sounded a lot like a blend of Merle and Willie, if you can imagine that. Just a really, really cool voice. And my grandpa was a musician. My uncles were musicians. So we get these, it's going to get real redneck. That's the way it is. We have these family get-togethers at my grandparents' house, wherever they were living. And we come in on a Friday, and everybody would bring the guitars. And it would start, all nice and pleasant, and they'd play pretty songs, old habits and everything that stuff. And then it would get a little whiskey would be kicking in, and everything's about fighting and everything, and now everything's getting all crazy. About 1 o'clock in the morning, everybody's fought. Everybody's had some kind of, family-ending tragic fight. But by 1:30, everybody's back to friends again and family again. We love each other. This is great. And then they play the farewell parties out. That's kind of went. And
sounds awesome.
Repeat the next night, like everybody do the same thing. Friday and Saturday we just went that way, and so my love for music was born there, watching all the fun they had. Getting crazy, getting wild, and playing music and beating the crap out of each other and drinking. See who could drink the most and still be functional. It's all a sport.
Yeah. I think growing up in Arkansas too, man, I grew up down in the further southwest corner, all the way down 41. So you were up at the top of the state. I was down at the bottom. I grew up in a dry county. Oklahoma was 7 miles away. So the beer joint was right across the Oklahoma line. And I remember buying my first beer at like 13 years old. If you could reach the counter and you had money, they'd sell you alcohol back then. It was just a different day and age, man. I'm sure you started pretty early, like most of us did back home. I mean, my kids have grown up completely different than the way we grew up. Yeah. It's a whole different deal.
It's a funny thing. I never liked the taste of booze. I never liked the taste of booze ever, until I was well in age. Like when I was a teenager, I hated it. I hated the way it tastes.
Really?
But I loved the way it made me feel. Yeah. So it'd be like, give me whatever's really strong. Then I don't have to shoot really fast, and I don't have to drink that stuff. I can go to drink soda pop or something like that, and then just feel it. I couldn't sip on booze.
Yeah.
Like
and you hadn't had a drink in a long time, have you?
I haven't had a drink since October 1st, 2018.
Wow.
Yeah. Different world, man. I didn't think that was going to happen ever. And I know nobody that knew me would ever believe that was ever going to happen. So if you're feeling hopeless about that, just know that there is no such thing, because this sumbitch was pretty hopeless.
Yeah.
Right here. But yes, 2018. So, I tell you what really did me in when I was 19, I had real bad stage fright. I still have bad stage fright. But there's something at the end of a show, end of a night, getting over that stage fright every day, every time. And there's something that is rewarding about that. I can't psychologically tell you what it is, but you feel like you just built a house, if that makes any sense. Like you've overcome this anxiety. You've introduced yourself to these people. You've constructed this musical foundation. All of a sudden, we're having fun. We're connecting. And at the end of the night, we crescendo, and we all agree we had a good time. And that couldn't happen unless I got over this one thing before I went on stage. And so at the end of the night, on the bus, come back to the back of the bus, and it's just me. I feel like I just built something, And
what do you think causes that anxiety?
The fear of sucking. It's funny that fear of sucking has changed over the years. It used to be a fear of sucking in front of girls. For me, it was like, God, there's women out there and they're smoking hot, and I'm going to be terrible, and I'm going to disappoint them, and they're not going to talk to me. And so I was like, what will help me get over this fear of performing well in front of this audience that happens to have pretty girls out here? And this dude slid a Crown Royal, bottle in front of me. He's like, man, just have you a couple shots of this and you'll be fine. And it did. It worked like too well. So every time I played, I'm like, a couple shots of Crown, and I'm going to have the show of my life. It really did work that way.
Yeah.
Until it didn't.
That's that way for a lot of people. And I don't really drink that much anymore. I drink wine, but I've gotten on the road. I don't drink it all during the day. I'll have a cocktail when I get done, but I've kind of tapered off of it. But making that transition when you grow up and it's a part of the culture and you're having a few drinks before you get on stage, the first time you get on stage without that buzz, it's terrifying.
Terrifying.
Big time, dude.
Yeah.
At least it was for me.
Yeah. I had to embrace, after many, I call them vacations, rehabs. After many of those psychologists, I had to embrace what they call vulnerability.
Yeah.
Which is basically just being open about whatever, and whatever happens, and just eating it. And so when I'd go out on stage, try to sing a song, it'd be terrible, but I'd tell the crowd, hey, I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to sing your favorite song. It might suck, but it's scary as hell, Didn't make it their problem. Like, I'm quitting drinking, so just so y'all know, it's going to be bad because I'm quitting drinking. Just was open with them, like, hey, I want this to be good for you too. I want to be good for y'all tonight. So I'm going to work as hard as I can. And being vulnerable with people like that, they give you some grace.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
That worked for a while, and then all of a sudden you kind of get used to it. And then actually it's funny that you come to a point where I go, how the hell did I ever do this drunk?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine myself being out of my mind so much where I didn't know whether I was singing on pitch, in time, singing the right words, all this kind of stuff. Which I still mess those up. But I couldn't imagine myself being out of my mind where I couldn't control all those things exactly the way they have to be controlled. And I never thought I'd get there where I'm like, how the hell did y'all ever let me on stage drunk? Like, that's the way I preferred it. I could only do this show if I'm drunk. But now I'm like, I don't know how that happened.
And it's such a hard thing in this business, too. A lot of people don't realize this entire industry is based around indulgences. I mean, whether it's sex, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, and they are present at everything you do in this industry. Every number one party, every album launch, everything at the very minimum has alcohol around it. And you have to realize when you go through that process of taking that and removing that from your life, I had to realize when I was cutting back and I was making changes, my issues aren't everybody else's issues. Yep. And I didn't want to make it a big deal and say, I'm not strong enough to be around it, because I don't want to be that kind of boss. I don't want to be that kind of friend. Yeah. I felt like if I wasn't strong enough to be around it, then I needed to make some more adjustments. Did you struggle with that too? Being around it, I mean, for a while when you first got off the bottle.
When I first got off the bottle, and I'm still this way, I don't allow any booze on the bus. It's not because I don't trust them. It's because I don't trust me. And I hope I always stay that way too.
Yeah.
But the guys, when we play somewhere, if they want to go out and have drinks or whatever, that don't bother me at all. It's just when it's right there for me to take.
Yeah.
I just don't want to be around that. I don't think I will, but you never freaking know.
On the extreme side of it, I know some of the guys that were in Whitley's band, and I know the road that how that progressed down. And they said, man, they'd get on the bus, and he would have gone through their bags and got their scope and their freaking cologne,
Joey Schmidt
man.
told me that,
And when he would get on a bender, man, he'd stay on it for days. He would stay up for days and drink everything he could get his hands on. I mean, he'd go to the cliff and freaking jump off, man. Yeah. I had no idea till I talked to some of those guys that were in the band with him, man. It was really sad the torment that he went through with that.
Absolutely.
Because I was such a huge fan of his, man. I had no idea he suffered like that.
Yeah, I've heard probably from the same people that you have some of the, the tragic things about his life. Well, I worked really hard to get there. I told my wife there's this weird mechanism in my brain that always said, if you could just kill yourself, I mean, drink yourself to death or somehow die tragically after making this very good body of work, and that's it, back away and then just die. That would be the most romantic thing ever. Now, that sounds nuts, right? That sounds like psychotic.
It's almost like you prepare yourself. This is what I'm going to do.
The most glorious thing I could do is do this right here. And the guys that did it are Hank Williams and Keith Whitley. Those guys, my heroes. I want to go out like them. I want to make something great. I want to be that tragic story. And I remember telling my wife this for the first time, just kind of being open and sharing the stuff. She's like, what in the F are you talking about? That's not normal. Like, nobody fantasizes about that. And I was like, I think I'm not alone in this.
Absolutely.
And then, somebody turned me on to a Waylon Jennings song that he wrote called the Hank Williams Syndrome. And that's what it is. I had never heard that song before. I'm like, oh my God, there it is.
That song. You heard that song?
Hank Williams Syndrome. So you have to look that up.
I gotta look that up.
So it's a crazy thing, man. We idolize, the Keith Whitleys, and my God, what a talent. I don't think people understand what a talent he was, because in those days there was no technology to make you better. It was, if you're good, you're good.
Oh yeah.
And it was pretty evident, pretty clear when you weren't. And he just could do things vocally that nobody else could do, and nobody could do for a long time after that. And even how that relates to today, I see them compare like a Zach Top to Keith Whitley. I don't think that's fair to Zach Top. I really don't. I think, people that are in his orbit should remove that from his brand a little bit.
Well, Carson's producing him, and Carson played steel with him forever, so he's still in that. That
makes total sense.
It makes a lot of sense. It does.
And I love, by the way, I'm a huge Zach Top fan.
Me too.
And I think he's going to be great at being Zach Top. And don't fall into that trap, man, because it's just not fair to you. You work too hard to get here, for them to attach you to something like that, and then you'll be a version of Keith Whitley. You'll never be a version of Zach Top.
Well, it's like, so how many of us came to town and wanted to sing like George Strait?
Guy.
All of us.
This guy.
It was, I tried to emulate everything Whitley did, all the phrasing that George Strait did on every record, everything Haggard did. I wasn't just singing the songs. I wanted to sound just like it. The phrasing, the breath, I worked on every little nuance, man. I was that obsessive compulsive with it.
Absolutely. That's exactly the way I did it. Just mimicking, excuse me. I had an odd mix of cassette tapes that I would sit and just obsessively roll over and sing along with when I was like 10. And it included some old stuff from like the old Willie stuff and old Merle, like the original Merle stuff, like the like early mid 60s Merle, even before like Okie and all that kind of stuff. Like Today I Started Loving You Again. Yeah. Like those songs. But I would just like that. I would mimic the way he sang. I'm like, I sing like I'm from Bakersfield. I'm not from Bakersfield, but that's the phrasing I learned. I talk like this, but I don't sing like this. I sing like Merle because I learned phrasing from him.
Me too.
George Strait the same way. I would mimic George Strait, and I pronounce vowels a completely different way when I talk than I do when I sing, because that guy taught me how to sing. You know what I mean? I only learned how to do it that way. Randy Travis as well.
Yeah.
Tracy Lawrence too.
But I stole from John Anderson. All those guys, we all did. And I've asked this question to people, ponder this, man. We had the ability to study all these people that influenced us when we were growing up. All the way back to Glenn Campbell and Charlie Pride and all those early influences, and then getting into Haggard and Waylon and Willie and all that stuff. Think about Hank Williams Sr. Who did he emulate? When he was writing songs, who did he get to draw his inspiration from? There was nobody. That was just all here. That blows my mind to ponder that, man.
I sometimes have to explain this to my wife, who's a big country fan, huge Tracy Lawrence fan, by the way. She told me to tell you. I have to explain to sometimes the impact of Hank Williams, because she's into George Strait. Loved Bob Wills.
Yeah.
She loved Bob Wills, and I thought that's really awesome. Very odd that she would like Bob Wills as much as she does. But I would have to explain her the impact of Hank Williams. There were no male singers like we know them today before Hank Williams. There was Ernest Tubb, and there was Jimmy Rogers, the hobo songs, train songs. And you had a little bit of the gospel and
Jim Reeves, some of that stuff.
Yeah, Jim Reeves, coming a little bit later. But you had, when Hank was in the late 40s, you had, I think it was just Bob Wills in Texas. You had Ernest Tubb in Texas doing, Waltz Across Texas, all those big songs. But nobody like him that wrote, like you said, out of nowhere, wrote songs that we could still recognize today as, oh yeah, that's You're Cheating Hard. It's brilliant. Today it's brilliant. And nobody did that before him to show him how to do that.
That's right.
So that's divine inspiration right there when you change an entire direction of a genre of music.
Or basically create one.
Created it, yeah. It's kind of, and if you listen to his music, it is kind of a, and I tell Heather this, it's kind of a melting pot of gospel and blues.
And there had to be some folk inspiration from the stuff that he heard growing up, some Appalachian sound.
Yes,
because from what I understand, a lot of those old folk songs came over from Europe when families moved to the colonies, and so there was a lot of that stuff that was deeply ingrained in this family history. So some of that had to have influenced him along the way.
Also, I can't say this for sure, but a lot of singers back then were very precise with their enunciation and notes, and were very clean on their delivery of notes. And that was that European, oh, Danny boy, everything was very precise. And he curled into a lot of notes like we all do now. It's just, a very unscientific way to get to a, you're cheating hard. That wasn't a normal thing back then. Everything was a lot cleaner than that. And even after that, they had to really, Jim Reeves is a great example of a great vocalist that was very precise in his delivery. And I don't know, a lot of those things were very proper. And he was kind of the first guy he was the first George Strait. I think George Strait's kind of one of those guys that, modernized the male country singer that we all kind of know today. Yeah. Everything's based on that guy.
Think about this too. And I pondered this. If you listen to the format today, and I'm not going to say names, but there's some homogeny that has happened. Yeah. And when you listen to a lot of the male singers, and I guess the female singers in their own group too, but we are tuning things so hard now.
Oh, yeah.
We're Pro Tooling everything that we're taking the personality away from the vocal. And I think it's affecting the style of the individual artist. Because I know when I've done records and they've tuned me real hard, I have a hard time singing that way. I can't go out and do that because that's not the way I sing. And when you're tuning everything on a graph and you're just bowing it up right there and it's hitting that note, I don't do that.
It's not fair.
And it makes everything sound so much the same. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's kind of sucked the soul out of some of this music nowadays.
Absolutely. It dawned on me a few times over the last 5 or 10 years that Pro Tools and the tuning ability creates this pinch, this really distinctive pinch on a vocal. Everything kind of sounds like it's pinched like that.
Mm-hmm. It's got a little thing
it's just a real weird nasally kind of pinch. Well, now after listening to all these tuned records for years, this young generation, they automatically sing like this. And like, damn, you have a live tuner on you in the room. This is crazy.
Yeah.
But
Can you imagine taking an old Zeppelin record or some of the early rock and roll records? If you go back and tune those records, they're awful. They're awful. It sucks all the freaking life out of them, man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I think that you could probably do that with a lot of great music over the years, man. I was never a Grateful Dead fan. Until my later years when my bass player just wore me out with it.
I haven't got there yet. I need to dive into it a little bit.
God. It's just, I think I just broke down and just said, okay, I'll be a fan and just to shut you up, man. So I started listening to them like it's so out of everything. It's so not correct in a lot of ways, but it's cool in a lot of ways. Like, all right, he played Mama Tried and it was terrible. But I had fun listening to it. Okay. Yeah. It's all right. But if you tuned everything, it'd just be a tuned up version of terrible. It wouldn't be fun.
Man, what's it been like for you meeting some of your heroes along the way? Did you get a chance to spend any time with Haggard before he passed away?
That was one of the most surreal moments of my life. And I mean that. I know people say that a lot. But for me, that's one of those moments in a lot of moments in my life where I'm like, I should have valued that more than I did at the time. But that's one that I really was in the moment, valuing every second. Meeting Merle for the first time, it was such my idol. The guy, I wanted to sing just like him. He had, to me,
the greatest country voice.
Greatest country voice of all time.
My guy.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think George Jones would tell you that.
Yeah.
Merle Haggard would tell you George Jones is. But they're 1A, 1B. But for me, my taste, I love George Jones. He just sang a different way where it was a little scary.
It was a little bit harder for me to hit some of that stuff when I was
George
a young
Jones,
singer. I'm just singing son of a bitch.
Hell yeah, he was. The control that Merle had was just unbelievable.
And the timbre in his voice.
Yeah.
There was just something special about the tone of his voice.
Well, we were talking about earlier the suffering that country music taps into.
Yeah.
The suffering of just normal people, everyday lives. And I'm not talking about going to work. I'm talking about suffering, heartbreak, losing people, or, life. In Chris Christopherson way, Sunday Morning Coming Down, that is a true song about suffering in a completely unique way.
Yeah.
Merle Haggard's voice expressed suffering in a unique way to me, and it had beauty in the chops and all the the perfect pitch, and that's rare because you usually have this guy that's a little sloppy all over the place, but kind of cool voice, or you got this guy that's super clean, very chops, but you never have that mixture of the suffering of humans in a voice with chops, precision, all the training, and all the influences of, anywhere from Lefty Frizzell to Jimmy Rogers, Bob, all the Bob Wills band, including the fiddle. But he had the mixture of all of it, and I just think he was the greatest of all time. I know George Jones was also the greatest of all time, 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
But meeting him was surreal. We did this the thing for Buck Owens. Have you seen the Crystal Palace out there lately? It was like 2004 or 5, and Buck Owens built these 10 big bronze statues.
Oh yeah.
For the 10 icons of country music. Well, Buck was one of them, and he had Merle and George Jones and I think Patsy Cline or Kitty Wells or maybe both of them, and of course Buck and Hank Williams. I believe George Strait and Garth Brooks and Willie Nelson. I might be missing a couple in it. Ray Price maybe. But he had this big event out there, and he invited all these greats. Jones came out, and Merle was there. Buck was there, obviously, and Asleep at the Wheel, Ray Benson was there. And it's not Garth was there. I think Garth proposed to Trisha there. And so it was this really cool event. And I was sitting, kind of in the area behind the stage, minding my own business, and Merle pulls up in this Hummer. And I'm like, oh, shit. All right, it's about to go down. I'm about to meet Merle. And he comes right over to me. He starts talking to me. I'm like, damn, okay. How are you doing? He starts telling me about me. I'm like, man, you really know what's going on with me. This is blowing my mind a little bit. He's like, let's get the hell away from these people. And he said, get in the car. I want to play some stuff. I'm like, no freaking way. I haven't said maybe 5 words to him at all. I'm sure my mouth's open like, whatever you say. Well, that's what we're going to do. You were telling me to rob a bank right now. We're going to do that. And so I got in his car, and his wife was in the back seat, and he just started playing me some stuff he was working on, and then started telling me stories about why he wrote some of the songs like Swinging Doors and stuff. And I'm like, there's no way this is happening right now. There's no way this is happening right now. He's telling me all these great stories, and he's intertwining what he thinks about what I'm doing and what I could do better and what I get about him that he notices. Like, these are the things that you've understood. And I'm like, gosh, dang, this is amazing. Amazing that, your indirect mentor is kind of recognizing how you are paying tribute to him in the ways that probably you maybe understand a little differently than other people. That conversation blew my mind. And then, funny extension of the story, Frank Mull, his tour manager, comes and knocks on the window and says, listen, the only bus here is Dierks Bentley's bus. And Dierks has invited all of us to come up and hang on his bus until the show starts. Me and Dierks had to go sing all their songs for them as they sat and watched. Jones and Haggard and these guys are going to watch us sing their songs. Talk about intimidating. Talk about stage fright. Damn. So we went up on Dierks' bus, and he and I are like sitting up here in front, like little kids. And Merle walked right to that captain's chair and sat down like he owned the place.
Yeah.
And Ray Benson was up there, and Frank Mullen and everything. And Ray and Merle got to talking about Bob Wills and this play that he was working on and all this kind of stuff. And Merle reaches into his pocket and pulls out this Crown Royal bag full of weed. Yeah. It was like this. I was like, how did that fit in your pocket?
And Ray went, okay.
Yeah, exactly right. And so he did this. He's talking, never missing a beat. And I'm looking at Dierks. I'm like, oh no, Oh,
I have to go sing.
Yeah, well,
no.
It was. We all leased buses back then. We were just getting started, and so nobody owned their own bus at that time, and so he had to turn this bus in at the end of the week, and strict rules: don't smoke weed on the bus, or we'll charge you a lot of money for cleaning the weed smell off. And we weren't weed smokers, so we're sitting there, and I'm looking at him like, oh, it's about to go down. And he's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to tell him to stop. And he pulls out this other pocket. He pulls out this big Sherlock Holmes looking pipe. And I'm like, this is like a movie right now. This is crazy. And he's like, nothing's happening. He's just talking about Bob Wills. And he puts this massive bunch of weed in this big Sherlock Holmes pipe and just starts lighting it up and just fills the room with smoke instantly. I was like, this is too funny. I'm going to tell this story the rest of my life. And within about 5 minutes, I just look at him like, oh, my God, I'm stoned. Oh, my God, I'm high. And him and Ray were just like it didn't even affect them.
No.
They could just smoke and smoke and smoke and just like, it's like they're drinking coffee.
I never could do that. I'd forget the words to everything. I couldn't do it.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
But we were the ones that had to go work.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like,
I would have forgot the words to everything.
Yeah, imagine it was kind of like, if you look at pictures from that night, I'm sure you could probably see a little bit of stoned in my eyes. Like, I think this is going good. I don't know what's going on. Oh, man, that was a scary night. And I don't know if you ever got the smell of that weed out of that buzz. It was heavy.
I don't know if you know it, but the Crystal Palace is closed down.
I didn't. Yeah,
they shut it down.
I played there right before they sent out that notice, like the week before that.
Was Huffy still running the place?
Yeah, Jerry was running that. He didn't say anything about it.
I think it kind of happened all of a sudden. I think everything just got shut down, man. It makes me really sad.
Man,
I've played there many times over the years. I got to know Buck. I got to play golf with Buck at the country club there in Bakersfield. I got to spend some time. He was a very unique individual.
Yeah,
yes, he
wore
was.
a lot of cologne too.
Oh yeah, his golf club. He had a golf club that was like a rubber band. He didn't swing real hard, but he would bring it back and it would bend all the way back around his head and it would like whip around. He didn't swing it hard at all, but he'd knock the shit out of a golf ball. And the geese, he'd carried a loaf of bread with him and he'd go out there and the geese, he'd call them and they'd all come to him and he'd feed the geese. They'd follow him all over the golf course. They knew him very well.
He was an interesting character, Buck was, man. He hated my hair. He would tell me every time I play out there, he'd say, you're doing great. I love what you're doing, but you got to cut that GD hair. You got to cut it. It's terrible. It looks terrible. Look like a shaggy head. Cut your hair. You'll be a superstar. I'm like, that's kind of my thing. My hair is kind of attached to me now. I can't cut it now, And we went around about that. And I put out that album with tequila on it, and I had pretty short hair in that photo shoot, shortest I'd ever had it. And of course, tequila blew up. A couple of big songs on that record, and he wrote me this long letter in pencil from his letterhead stationery, and it was he talked about how proud he was of me for cutting my hair, and now look at you, now you're a huge star. Because you cut that hair. I'm telling you, son, it was all because of that. And he wrote all this stuff, and it's a beautiful letter.
I hope you've got that framed.
I do.
Yeah.
And he's got it, and you can tell he's running out of room at the end of the paper, and it's like getting smaller and smaller in his pencil. And I'm like, I think that says good job, And he signed it at the bottom, and that got to my house. That letter arrived at my house the day after he died.
No kidding.
So he sent that maybe a day or two before he died.
That's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah. I have that one. I had one from Dolly Parton that was like that after we did our first duet together. But somebody stole that one.
Isn't it
Along
amazing?
with my Grammy certificates, man.
When you grow up like us and you idolize all these people, man, to get to know them as peers, I can say that about Kenny Rogers. I got to know Kenny Rogers. I got to go to his house. I went to Haggard's house to get to know people on a peer-to-peer level. Yeah. Growing up, idolizing these people, man, I've got such great memories that's overwhelming when I think about it too much.
I've always heard don't ever meet your heroes because they'll disappoint you. And I've certainly felt that way a couple of times. But for the most part,
me too.
Merle didn't disappoint me, man. He was exactly the guy I thought he was and had the stories to tell you to back him up, and was not ashamed or afraid to tell you exactly what was on his mind about you or him or whatever. And Alan Jackson, I know he didn't say much, but he's that kind of guy where what little he does say is exactly how he's thinking. Just doesn't say a whole lot, but when he does say it, it's like, that's exactly how I feel. It's very blunt, I remember telling one joke, he was there. Because Alan's there and telling, his tour manager, Tony Stevens at the time, and a couple of the Strayhorns were all having some drinks after a show in California. And I'm telling this joke. It's a long story joke with a big punchline. And they tell this whole thing, and there's just no reaction out of Alan. He's just sitting there with a Jack Daniels in his hand. No reaction at all. And Tony's like, did you hear this joke? He just told this joke. He goes, I heard him tell it to you. And I was like, do I have to retell it? you were sitting right here. What the hell are you talking about? You heard me tell it to him. And he kind of looked at me like, all right, now tell it to me. What the hell is going on? It was such a weird, I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know. It's one of those weird things. But he was, he could be a very serious guy, but a very caring guy. Very caring guy. The serious thing never got, I never got that twisted feeling. I've toured with some people that were big stars. They are what they are.
Yeah.
I thought Toby was great. I toured with Toby for a year. I never had so much fun. I think that contributed to my first stint at rehab. It was so wild every night. I was out of control. I remember one time we were playing in Wisconsin, like Green Bay or something, and Toby decided to go down and watch an Oklahoma game that afternoon and fly back on a jet. And they went to overtime. And he called, and he's like, hey, I need you to go out there and play a longer show tonight. And I was only doing 45 minutes. I'm like, how long are we talking? He's like, possibly 2 hours. I'm like, what? Yeah. We went overtime, and my pilot says it's going to take us this many hours to get up there. So we've done the math, and I'm going to be about an hour past my set time. So I'm going to need you to play till 20 minutes before this time. But I want you to go on time. I'm like, you gonna pay me extra? you gonna pay me a little more? Because I'll do that. No, I didn't do that. But I did better merch that night than any other time on that tour. But we ended up playing 2 hours, and I pulled them way out from my honky tonkin' days too. I was playing honky tonk women and Whiskey Bent and Hellbound. I hadn't played these songs in 10 years, and how about this one?
That'd be an example.
It's an E, guys.
Something a TikTok star would have trouble with.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's a great point. If you had to pull something out of your rear end on stage and make something happen magically in front of 10,000 people, that experience says, okay, if all else fails, do this. If you don't have that, man, you're locked up.
I'm telling you what, it might take me a minute. It's if I can remember the first word, usually I can do the whole song. If I can just remember the first freaking word.
Yeah. I do that with every line. Every line. If I started out this way, I know the rest of it. I don't have to think about it.
Yep.
Yeah. I still mess them up.
I sure miss Toby, man. Toby and I were good friends. Yeah. We spent a lot of time together in the 90s, and I got to see him. They did a songwriter award for Bobby Braddock, a Lifetime Achievement Award for the National Songwriting Association at the Ryman in November. And me and Blake and Toby and Garth and everybody was there, and I got to visit. Toby was really frail, but he was so positive, man. I really thought he was going to pull out of it. I think he passed away the end of January.
Yeah.
But it's sad to get to this stage of life and see so many of our friends and our heroes going downhill, and Alan's struggling with his health and everything now too. Yeah. It's really sad to watch. It's just we're getting at that place in life, brother.
Yeah. The Toby thing really bothers me. Bothers me a lot because, knowing him, such a big, healthy, energetic, kind of ass
in
kicker.
Control.
In control.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We used to play basketball. I don't know if you guys ever did the daytime basketball. My God, that was a battle. It was a freaking battle. We'd go out and play. I didn't put it together the first couple of weeks we were out there, but they ran plays and stuff.
They were serious.
I had some of my guys that could shoot a basketball, but they had we're going to screen here, hit the guy there, and you're going to cut to the basket. And I'm like, what the hell is going on out here? We're running plays. We're just we're like pickup ball. What are you doing? And so, but they were serious with that stuff, man. They'd call a foul. I'm like, you can't call a foul. Come on. We're not calling fouls. We're just playing. Nobody's keeping score, I think. They were serious. But no, Toby, he was a good dude, man. He was good to me and always, always was a tough love kind of guy. If ever I kind of showed my ass, he would kind of tough love me out of it. Listen, cut that shit out. Let's get back to work. Not a, go tell on me kind of thing. There was one time I showed my ass, and Brian O'Connell, the head of Live Nation, flew out to see me. Said, "Yeah, I'm going to need you to never do that again, or else I will end your freaking career." And it wasn't even something I did. It was something one of my band or one of my crew guys did. And I said, "Yes, sir. You got it. I've already got my ass chewed by Toby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will make sure that guy's on a plane home today.
And look at us. We're all grown up now.
And look at us now. We're all grown. We can laugh about it now. Nobody died after that. That was kind of one of those miracle things that I made it through 2006 and I didn't die, which my wife finds miraculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which when I tell her, man, sometimes I tell her too much. We got married in the fall of 2007, and I sometimes talk too much about what I did before that. And she's like, "I don't want to hear this. I don't want to hear that. There's no reason for me to ever know any of that stuff."
Yeah.
And just pray to God none of that ever hits the internet, and your kids don't ever see any of that stuff, because it would make Zach Bryan look like a church boy or something.
Yeah, everybody says, "Why don't you write a book?" I said, "I got to wait for a bunch more people to die first."
Exactly my words. Like everybody, I got to wait till I'm okay with everybody hating my guts.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
I still care about what people think of me.
Brother, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this conversation today.
Yeah.
Hearing all these old stories, man, it's so fun catching up with you, man.
You too.
Man, appreciate everything, my friend.
Yeah, man.
So
Thank
good
you.
to visit with you.
Good to visit with
Had
you.
a great time today.
Yeah.
Man,
I
look
did
forward
too.
to catching up with you. Maybe we can share the stage again real soon.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Hell yeah.
Joe Nichols, everybody.